like to welcome Gary SInise to the room and thank him and his band so much for all that they've done.
Thank you.
I can't begin to thank all the people in this room for what they've done over the years for their country, for ParadeRest, for this community. One person in particular, however, who has been so special for ParadeRest and in this effort is our own fire chief, Chief Charles Werner, best fire chief in the United States. And he has something that he'd like to say.
First, I'd like to say thanks to Greg for this this honor to be able to work on ParadeRest this past year. It's been very special. It's been one of those really special things that happen in life. But tonight, I think that we all saw a performance by a talented performer that really just kind of blew us away. Really. So to keep this really brief, to keep things on track, I just want to say thanks to Gary SInise and the band, particularly from my firefighter, Andy. But I'd like to present this to you. This is a fire chief badge to appoint you as an honorary fire chief for the city of Charlottesville and say thanks for all that you do for our country.
I'd like to introduce somebody who's going to make a short statement. My question: how does one man totally disarm a room that contains a 3-star general, a 4-star general, Navy captains, former U.S. Attorney General, assistant special agents in charge, FBI assistant directors, a bank president, and the current director of national intelligence, without drawing his weapon or firing a single shot? Well, I saw it happen about a mile from here on December 7th, this past year, when a Vietnam veteran approached me on that evening and said, Greg, I'd like to just say a few things to the people here in the room. Now, I had already planned the evening. We had a 94-year-old wheelchair-bound 3-star general who had been the chief architect of the Incheon landing and received the highest award that President Reagan gave. He was going to speak. Director of National Intelligence was going to speak. We had members of the University of Virginia Glee Club who were planning on singing. And this Vietnam veteran was now asking me to give him the most valuable thing that I could possibly provide, and that was time. He had been introduced to me by the bravest, most courageous FBI leader that I've ever met in my life, Roger Nisley. Thank you, Roger.
Yeah, Roger.
And so I said yes. And then he said, you see, my grandfather was the commander of the USS Arizona. And so 70 years ago on this date, he died and received the Congressional Medal of Honor, the first that was given in World War II. And I brought a few of his things here. The mechanical gold pencil that he used that morning, and also his medals from the Spanish-American War. And I'd like to pass them around to the people in this room so that they can touch history. And I realized at that moment that Chris Kidd was not asking for anything. He was offering something of himself. And so, in planning for this evening, I called Chris Kidd. I told him that we had a very special person here, Gary SInise, and I would like for him to come and say a few words. And he said, "What's the dress code?" And I said, "Chris, I know you. You wear a bow tie. You were going to wear a bow tie, and let me tell you, I will also wear a bow tie in honor of you." So, from this Army guy, retired, to a retired Marine. Thank you, Chris Kidd, and I'd like for you to say a few words.
You gotta love it when the speaker is shorter than the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, firefighters, first responders, veterans, most importantly, our new and current generation of veterans and wounded warriors. Greg has a wonderful way of getting you to agree to something before you really know what that something is. So I said, sure, I'll help you, whatever it is you need, no problem. And he said, well, I want you to give a talk to Gary SInise. Think bullets of sweat. Chris Kidd is a mutt. I am a steward of history, not a maker of history. But I want to share with you a few things. I think the principal role for me being here was that I work for free. Which is always a good thing. But after I said that I would do it, I recognized that we're talking about making a presentation to a man who has multiple Academy Award nominees, multiple Emmys, has been decorated by the President of the United States with the Citizens Award. This is big stuff. And we thought it would be appropriate to recognize you. But I think to recognize you, we need to kind of set this up a little bit so that you understand the importance of this. This is not an Emmy. Good. This is something that you may have never touched before, and I hope you cherish it. It is one of a kind. Before we get to that, though, some of you have heard me speak before on the culture of the warrior class. And every person in this room is part of that culture. It is the culture that draws you to the sound of gunfire. It is the culture that makes firefighters run towards smoke. It is the culture that differentiates us and separates us from every other nation in the world. And it is that same culture that requires us to care for our veterans. Whether our government cares for them or not, the government does the best it can, but remember, we are the government in this country. This evening, we were touched. Mr. SInise, you touched us at our soul, at our heart. You touched us in a fashion that really represents moral rearmament. I don't think any of us can leave this evening without standing a little taller than we were when we came in. That is a tremendous gift. The gift that we have for you is going to continue to bond you to us. You will be bonded to me. We are now brothers because, like me, you're working for free tonight. And we appreciate that very much. One can only imagine the awards that you have. But I don't think you have one like this. Since the beginning of the United States, when we were only a colony, America relied on oak, the tree of oak, typically white oak or red oak. We used it for everything. Oak was the duct tape of our era. Oak has been present on every battlefield that this country has spilled its blood on. Oak is present. It formed the stocks for our muskets. It forms the caissons for our artillery. It's critical to the success of American enterprise because it's in oak that we ferment our whiskey and our rum. Oak forms the hulls and the masts and the spars of our First Navy. Very sadly, oak often forms the final cradle for those who have been fallen. So you can't live in America and you cannot go to war without having been touched by oak. I remember in my own life rapidly drawing hand grenades from a crate made of oak. one hand grenade, one can of Budweiser. What did that give me? But that's the way it was at that time. So we'd like to present you this piece of American oak. I need to share with you what you have here. We've called this the Warrior's Oak. This piece of oak has been ripped by gunfire. It has been scorched by the heat of battle. This piece of oak is skirted by a richly colored frame made of a purple colored wood. In fact, the name of this wood is Purple Heart. I think it's interesting that in 1782, George Washington held conversation with Thomas Jefferson and Pierre L'Enfant, the result of which was the first declaration for valor issued by our then colony, that is that which we know today as the Purple Heart. The Warrior's Oak, despite its timber and the destruction that it's had, it casts an order, and it is a very simple order. It says, rule number one. Rule number one is easy to remember. It says, it matters. That which you do matters. It matters to someone else, which makes it very important. Mr. SInise, you have underscored for all of us tonight that what you do matters and what we do matter. Without it mattering, we are just another tin can nation being kicked down the road of history, and we will not be remembered with applause. We want you to accept this, sir. It's one of a kind. It comes to you from our heart and from our spirit, with the thanks of ParadeRest, with our sponsors, and we ask that God bless you, your wonderful band, and God bless America. Back to you, Doctor.
Well, this is heartfelt, and at this point, I think that the most important thing to do is to give everyone in the room an opportunity to get a chance to shake hands with Mr. SInise and express his and her appreciation for all the great work that he's done. So, thank you, and for the next half hour or so, 40 minutes that we have, this is a time for Mr. SInise to spend with you all.
Thank you.
Where would you like us to be? Sorry?
Thank you, that was wonderful.
You all right? Sound all right from the chief officer? Sorry.